how would you define the mother wound and father wound in simple terms? Because it's very, I think, loosely, again, as part of labelling the thing, and sadly part of my family stuff is when she hears that term, my mother, she thinks I'm blaming her for everything. I'm like, no, I'm talking about the wound that you carried and then played out in certain ways that then did become that. But again, is a beautiful opportunity. And it's been some of the most mystical aha moments of my life, is seeing the divinity and the purity and the gift within that. Took a lot of pain to get there. And as you said, it's a constant doing that. But she hears the term and it's...
Why are you telling her?
No, I'm not.
Oh.
She sees it in my social media.
Yeah.
And then she personalises it.
Yeah,
and then she attacks me on social media. And I'm like that. But when she's calm over... Like, my mum's very dialed in, mate.
Yeah.
She's very attuned, to be honest. And there's something about that.
So in those moments, she's very threatened.
The Balkan, and that's the thing that comes up.
Yeah.
Like, she's not an angry person. You look at her, you think she's angry. Underneath the anger is she's just afraid, mate. Because she's not had a healthy male really in her life other than elements of my father when he's came along. But again, what I witnessed was scream and shout and be the loudest. That's how she gets her point. And my dad would just shut down and be passive aggressive and sarcastic. And I'm like, I don't want to communicate in either of those ways. Have I done both? Yes. Do I continue to do both elements? But I try and catch it as early as possible. It's definitely not the driving factor. So I'm not telling her, because I've tried that. Because that was part of perpetuating my wound, was, well, maybe if I educate her, maybe she'll get it, maybe she'll understand, maybe she'll change. I'm still trying to do my work through saving her. That was my part, and I don't do that anymore. So she just sees it, and the book coming out has been public. Oh, there's he shaming her family. I'm like, no, read the book. It's actually the polar opposite of that. Read the second page. It's dedicated to you guys. Read the last page. There's acknowledgements. My name's not Connor. My name's Mark. It's an autobiographical fiction. There's things been shifted, but there's been key elements and pillars that I'm not going to not tell the truth on parts of my story, because that perpetuates the wounds where I don't speak up. And then that metaphysically, cancer, Lyme's disease, anger, all the stuff that I've had, I'm not prepared to do that anymore. So I'm not telling her, but she's just seen it and she runs with it, and it's a threat. So, all that being said, what's your definition of the mother wound and the father wound?
So, firstly, just for people's information, they're not clinical terms. They're not clinical diagnosis by any means. I think they're very real lived experiences that can occur for so many of us, right, as children. And they're passed down because so much of what we experience is unconscious unless we choose to change it, doesn't really change. So I think there's some we can just call it the parent wound to start with, general, and then we can just sort of branch off, right? So I think what defines that parent wound is mistrust, disconnection, a lack of safety, a lack of availability, a lack of being seen, rigidity, hyperintensity. Those are the sort of the some of the ways to describe that wound, right? You just can't trust your parents. You don't feel safe in their presence, right? If we get a little more specific and just to really, not to reduce it, but just to simplify it, right? I think part of that, and it can change a little bit for fathers to boys and fathers to girls and mothers to boys and mothers to girls, but essentially there's a distortion in the way the mother nurtures that creates a wound, right? I mean, the same could be said for the father, but we'll just create some distinctions. So the way a mother nurtures is distorted, unhealthy, and there's a couple of ways that can go, and I'll give you examples in a moment. And then with respect to the father wound, it's a lack of safety and structure, right? A lack of safety and support, if you like, right? Reliability and availability, presence. So with a mother, in terms of distortion of nurturance, it can either be devoid of nurturance, where there's a almost like an evolutionary expectation for that to be there. Where the suckling on the mother's teat, so to speak, physically and emotionally, right? Or it's overbearing. It's overbearing. Like there's emotional enmeshment there, entanglement, parentification, emotional incest, if you like, right? So it's two extremes, totally devoid or too much, too little, too much. And then with the father, examples of that are there is no discipline and guidance, especially for that little boy. Like he can't rely on his father. His father's not a really healthy figure. His father's not invested in his life, doesn't really pay attention, is unavailable, is volatile, unpredictable, doesn't have other male role models in his life either. So that boy can't pull from anything. He becomes disoriented, And as a girl, maybe that father's just emotionally unavailable, just doesn't pay any interest, or is abusive or invasive even as well, But again, it's not to say that a mother can't be sexually invasive or emotionally invasive as well. Through emotional incest she can be. So there's just some distinctions in some ways that I would see that.